Paul Heyman now owes Seth Rollins a favor. On top of finally getting CM Punk's favor revealed last week on SmackDown of how CM Punk wants Paul Heyman in his corner for that WrestleMania main event, this past week on Raw, Seth Rollins gave all the reasons to Paul Heyman as to why he should not be, well, loyal to his tribal chief Roman Reigns and why he should not be loyal to his best friend CM Punk either. Basically saying how Roman Reigns ditched Paul Heyman after WrestleMania last year, even letting Paul Heyman be put through a table in Madison Square Garden. And CM Punk, well, he left WWE and left Paul Heyman as well. And when he returned, he didn't take Heyman by his side. In fact, Punk was here to make money. He wasn't here to make friends. So pretty much how much was Paul Heyman worth? As Seth put his hands on Paul Heyman, eventually it became too much and CM Punk came to ringside. The brawl ensued, but unfortunately for CM Punk, he actually ate a curb stomp in ring. When Heyman went to make the save or just to check on Punk saying he was sorry, Seth Rollins went for a curb stomp on Paul Heyman, although he actually stopped one step before and just stomped the canvas. He then picked up the microphone, and as you saw in that picture there, he said to Paul Heyman, "You now owe me a favor." I guess Heyman could have been taken out of WrestleMania, but instead, he's going to still be there. What favor will he owe Seth freaking Rollins? And is it the obvious one? The obvious question is Paul Heyman going to help Seth Rollins defeat Roman Reigns and CM Punk at WrestleMania 41 in the Night 1 main event?
I hope they haven't really laid out the most obvious trap as to this is what's going to happen. Like a lot of people had kind of thought about it, but doing this, you've just really sort of foretold that that's the direction you can. But don't be wrong, they could be foretelling that that's what they're going to do, and they could go completely another way. Who knows what Seth Rollins wants as a favor now? But I don't know, man. It was okay, but I thought it was a bit of a lackluster way to get a favor off of him. Surely it would have made more sense for Seth to pay someone to try and attack Paul Heyman, and then he saves him and then gets a favor that way. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe threatening Paul Heyman was the right way to do it. It just seems to me that it's a bit more obvious now than what they're going to do for WrestleMania. But then again, like I said, they may not even do that at all.
Well, that's the thing. And obviously, the first question comes in from Jones, who says that basically that it seems too obvious in a way now to have him align with Seth Rollins at this point. Will there be one more twist?
Obviously, there's probably going to be one more twist. But in terms of the favor, this, for me, when they did this showdown between the three of them, and Seth is the key to that promo on SmackDown on Friday, he's just standing in the corner laughing because this is all the stuff that he's told Roman Reigns about CM Punk. He's told him how he's a cancer, how he shouldn't be here. And now all this stuff is happening to Roman Reigns and Seth is just laughing there like, I told you this was going to happen. And the fact that Seth doesn't do anything as well just makes it even more better because now it's just driving. Now you've got something between Roman and Punk. You already had something between Seth and Roman. You already had something between Seth and Punk. The one thing you were missing was something between Punk and Roman. We now have that. So we have a complete, perfectly tied in triple threat in terms of story. We all have a reason as to why these guys should be in this match. They all have a reason to hate each other.
Absolutely, I would agree with that entirely. And what's been the beauty of this last couple of weeks? So we had the contract signing, Punk was given the main event. Obviously, this past week, then we learnt the favor. The difference in Seth Rollins as a character over those two shows was fascinating to watch. And as it's played into Raw this past week as well. Look, if we go back to old videos, we suggested over a month ago the idea of what if Paul Heyman was to screw both Punk and Roman at WrestleMania in favor of Seth Rollins. And it seems to be a consensus which is now favoring quite a few stations since then. We still believe that could happen, but obviously, like you say, there could be another twist in the tail. But looking at how things have played out, Seth was really upset on that first week. He came then on the second SmackDown. Like I said, it was cool, calm, and collected. And like you said, he'd had a week to digest things and pretty much make a strategy to go into WrestleMania. It looks like that strategy is Paul Heyman. And it was kind of funny with the way that he just sort of watched things play out, like I say, on that SmackDown. Because for me, that made it feel like He's just letting them do that because he has Heyman in his pocket already. But at the same time, now we're seeing this on Raw. Is this just something that's simply a Paul Heyman old famous trick that he would do because he needed to get people in? He needed to suck Punk in to get the beat down where they're really in cahoots already? Or is it a situation that this is just Seth Rollins playing some dirty tactics?
I mean, look, Paul Heyman's famous for it. I mean, the one where I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, but the one when he turned around and said, I will be leaving with the world champion by the end of the night, and he ends up teaming with Brock at the end of the night. He's just famous for it, man. He's famous for all these great moments, and to have a repertoire of his, of the people he's managed, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar. If he was then to go on to Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and then if he was then to go on to Seth Rollins, dude, man. I mean, if honestly, I would like it just for the pure fact that this builds to WrestleMania next year. I don't want that favor to be cashed in straight away. If they are going to do it, I want that favor saved until like WrestleMania next year. Because for me, I still think Punk and Rollins will main event next year for a world title. I think that's one match that has to happen next year at WrestleMania. And again, they've got another year to build it. And this Seth Punk story is essentially the Cody Roman story that we had from 38 to 40. So this is a long story that they're building toward. And I think the culmination will be at WrestleMania next year.
See, I kind of like that direction. This is why I kind of hope as well that we do get like Seth and Paul Heyman aligned because simply, I mean, if the rumors already going around that Roman Reigns will be taking a bit of a break after WrestleMania anyway, so that gives Heyman something to do on TV. You can continue something with Punk in the meantime if you want to initially, but the draft may separate them, which I think could be good, like you say, for that long-term play. Because I think the first thing you'd want to do, yes, there's the best friend element, but it's a case of, well, Punk can realize, well, look, that's not my best friend. And this scoop, he's stabbed me in the back before. Look back into 2013. It's the sort of thing of like, I should have known better. I'm going to move on from that. I'm going to move forward and put them in the rearview mirror for now. And he can revisit that, like you say, WrestleMania 42 time. But when Roman comes back for SummerSlam, then you can build to Roman versus Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman in the corner of Seth. And I think that would be a really fun storyline to play those two out for the remainder of the calendar year. You can even play that through to War Games as well. Those two Shield members who will be their teams kind of thing. They could do all that kind of vibe as well. So that could be a lot of fun to see how that would play out. So I really hope that it happens. But we'll have to wait and see.
The other thing as well is if there is, I think very obviously they are doing a character change with Seth Rollins as well. Because the promo on Friday, the promo Monday, his outfits have been pretty basic.
Yeah.
Like suit on Friday, jeans and a jacket on Monday. Nothing really outlandish. So I think we're getting a repackage of Seth as well. I think we're Seth's turning heel. This is the most important thing here. And we're getting like I said, a redesign of I wouldn't be against them writing Punk off for a period of time as well if they want to carry on the Seth Roman storyline. Write Punk off from WrestleMania till SummerSlam or whenever, just so we can give that that story between Roman and Seth just a bit more time to breathe as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I would not be a bad idea. The only thing I do want, though, I kind of want to see the Punk at Money in the Bank. I know, cliche. We had it before. Do we really need it again? But give me what I want. You know what I mean? I want to see that again for the championship and just see
draft is the thing as well.
Yeah, we have the draft, of course, to come up, of course, after WrestleMania. But, just to see that moment with perhaps Cena going for the crowd with the title, kissing away, I'm the real world's champion. That could be a really fun way of seeing it go down.
I mean, like I said, if they do the draft and they keep Punk off of whatever show Roman and Seth are on, you've got an excuse there to not have them interact until maybe Rumble season. And then we can build towards Punk, Seth at WrestleMania next year. And that's just a way to keep them apart for the next sort of 6 to 8 months.
Absolutely, yeah. I think they could work really, really well. So yes or no answer to this question. Does Seth Rollins will he be the new Paul Heyman guy at WrestleMania 41?
The fact that it's too obvious, I'm going to say no because I think it's a massive swerve. Even though it probably will happen, I'm going to say no because they love doing this. This is what Triple H is about, man. He loves making it so obvious and how there's so many things we've seen over the past year, like when Kofi and Xavier were going to break up and they ended up turning on Big E. Like they get you in this mindset where You think this is what's going to happen, and something completely different happens. So although it is really obvious, I'm going to say no, just for the pure fact that he loves giving us complete curveballs.
Do you know why you make a fantastic point with that? Because I kind of agree that that could be the way now, because it's been thrown in front of our face now a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like, well, every fan's going to scream, well, that's going to happen. Therefore, he'll take you on a different direction. But just for the funds, for the shits and giggles, I'm going to say that it's going to happen purely because as well, I see potential of what you can do afterwards with Seth aligned with Paul Heyman. I want to see heel Seth Rollins as well. I want to see him more, like you say, stripped away from these, Liberace style, wardrobe every week. I want to see him more like, just plain suits or back to almost what I've seen when he was in the Authority kind of style, Seth Rollins. I want to see that guy back. So I'm going to say yes because I want it to happen. And I think it'd just be a unique pairing, even if it's not for super long term.
I want to see Seth Rollins go heel, where he's actually getting booed by the crowd, because the problem he has is he's loved so much that even when he's the bad guy, he's loved. He has to do something like, I mean, if they are going to essentially do it along the lines of where they do put Heyman with him, man, have him do something like outrageous, like kidnap one of Heyman's kids or something and force him to be his manager, or do you know what I mean? Just do something really crazy and just like you need to get proper heel heat on him. How they do it, I don't know, but he needs to be the bad guy in this story, and he needs to be the hated bad guy.
I know. I mean, that would be a really unique way to do it. By the way, it's very Vince Russo-esque. I like it. Just take away there. I mean, it's like that always used to be done to Rey Mysterio. Poor Dominic back in the one day. No wonder he thought Rey was a deadbeat dad. He got beaten up every third storyline, didn't he? But it's doing the rounds as well at the moment on social media. Brock Lesnar beats up a fan, and it's Dominic Mysterio sitting in the crowd in 2019, is doing the rounds on the socials at the minute. But one way that you can definitely get Seth not being cheered instantly, and I think it actually would work. Just change the music. I think it's half of the reason he's over currently.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just
yeah, it's a very good point.
And ultimately,
let who's it? Let Def Rebel remix him a song that everyone absolutely hates. So let it start off with Seth Rollins, because we don't know him.
just freaking it would be awful. Pierre carries on to ask as well, was we a fan of the Heyman and Punk favor, or was we angry about it? Personally, for me, I think it's fine. I think it made a lot of sense, to be honest. I think it adds to the storyline of what we've currently got, and I know a lot of people wanted to see Punk added to night 2 of the championship, but I suppose you could look around and say that Paul Heyman, he's a manager, he's not a matchmaker, not anymore anyway.
For me, I've said this before, it's one of those things where WWE are just so lucky to have a portion of story that they can bring back 10 years later. Like, Punk's got this favor. Yes, what's that favor going to be? I know. We'll take that segment from Heyman and Punk in the ring, where Heyman says he's going to main event WrestleMania, something that it happened. Punk leaves, and everyone's like, he's never going to main event WrestleMania. And now the fact that we're at this point where he is, they just get this every time there's so many times they've happened, they get this crumb that they can just play off of. And I give them props to him for doing it, man. Like, there could have been so many more things that would have been a lot worse than what they're using. So I'm okay with it. I like it. I think it's a good long-term story, but
I mean, the thing is, there's logic in it. So for me, I'm not going to complain. I think when that's logic, that's when I start to check out. So if I can see a possibility moving forward with the storyline, I'm usually quite content to see how it's going to play out.
Definitely.
Jonesy in house then. Good to see Jonesy. We've got plenty of Jonesy questions, by the way, so expect to see this name pop up a bit tonight. Do you see WrestleMania finally setting up the start of Drew Seth stable that was rumored earlier in the year? Of course, it was also rumored with one Kevin Owens, who is sadly out injured now with neck surgery. Wish him a speedy recovery. I personally don't think it's going to happen anymore, just because I think that things have moved on since then. And I'm going to be honest, we talked about Seth being with Paul Heyman. I generally feel like if there's ever going to be a third man for John Cena and The Rock, although that's not really materialized since it started, I think Drew would be the perfect next corporate champion, if you will. I think that Drew would be, I can see Drew being the champion by the end of the year, and I think he's on a different show to Seth now as well.
See, I saw this thing on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever, the other day, and this was I thought was really good, is that the third man could be Jey Uso, because The Rock said my champion will leave WrestleMania with a world title. Who's not to say it can't be Jey Uso, because he's in a world championship match, and there's that bloodline collection, so it could be that. But I know what you mean. I think this was 3 months ago. If this was Rumble season, they all had the same story narrative. Drew has very much stepped away from I was right, everyone's against me kind of thing. Seth is on this character change, and obviously Kevin's injured. I think they've missed the boat on that, has been and gone and sailed on that one. I think if they'd have done it, it would have already happened.
It fitted quite well on the Netflix debut in January. As it worked through the February, it sort of started to fade away, and now it just we talked about logic just a few minutes ago. I feel like it's lost where the logic would connect the dots. So for now, I feel it goes away, but they could always revisit it somewhere further down the line. Roy's in the house. How we doing, Roy? Says Kelly has signed a Legends deal with WWE. Are you happy about that? So nice that you named her twice. I mean, are you happy to see Kelly with a Legends deal?
I'm shocked at the fact she's younger than Charlotte Flair.
I'm not, to be fair. She started very young in WWE.
That was, I saw it the other day, and I was like, I don't know, I didn't actually fact check it, but it was on there that she's younger than Charlotte Flair, and I was like, that seems insane. But hey, man, like you said, so nice they named her twice. Not the greatest wrestler, but she has a great lineage and a great history in WWE. So why not, man?
Former champion. They get her appearing in Royal Rumbles and stuff, so it makes sense. I think that's
Mania season,
yeah, why not? And she can pop up in the crowd here and there, and it'll get a pop.
She's an attraction for a demographic of our age. I think now that we're getting to that point where we're in our 40s, and she was kind of like the pin-up model or the pin-up wrestler for 20-year-old wrestlers, like 20-year-old boys, like 10, 15 years ago, and it's kind of like she has her demographic that she will appeal to, and that's what they're doing, really. They're just pulling in these legends that are appealing to different demographics to draw in someone from everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. If there's a way to bring an extra couple of bums or a couple of viewers into what WWE's doing, they'll make sure to do it. So absolutely, indeed. We'll move on. And just before we do go any further at this point, I think it's a good point to say, if you can, hit that like button. Really helps the video massively with all the views we've got going so far. If you all like the video, then there's a chance that this video will reach out to more people. That means that we'll stay online longer for you today, and we'll answer more questions. It's as simple as that. Joseph says, does it break kayfabe to induct immortal moments into the WWE Hall of Fame, i.e. matches? Does it break kayfabe in your opinion? For me, I think it's more, I suppose, appreciating what was classic matches.
For me, it's kind of like goal of the season. Like, we watch football, and every year once the season ends, they do a goal of the season competition. These are the kind of the same things. Like, it's the B-reel that shows every time there's an opening package for WWE where Brett versus Austin is one of their moments. Jeff doing a swanton off the top of a ladder is one of them moments. Man, I've got no problems with it. Like I said, I think it, if anything, it's another way for WWE to get people more invested in their back catalogue. Now that they obviously have a lot of the stuff on the network, on Netflix, I want to go see WrestleMania 13. I want to go see Brett versus Austin. I want to go see what the hype is about that match. I think it's great. It's just a great way to introduce fans to the older stuff.
It's a very intelligent way to actually get people to watch the older stuff, and also at the same time, like you say there, give the nod to Netflix. They've got the back catalogue. Let's get people to use it, because there's so many shows there. Where do I start? Where do I go? Well, there's this match that WWE's recommended we go and we'll check out. All of a sudden, you're going to go and do that, and it's a blueprint in the history about that match, about that moment. So many things could be so different. Obviously, that's where Stone Cold really sort of had the transition to the babyface, and of course, the rest would be history after that. I mean, sometimes when you do things, no matter what the craft is, it could be your job that you do day to day. It could be a music artist that releases a song. There's always going to be one thing that's going to come out and go, that stands out. That was something that you're always going to remember. And in pro wrestling, it's entertainment for all of us. And that is like you said, it's kind of like goal of the season. That is something that really stood out at that moment. And it's showing and saying that this was one of the more important moments in history.
Yeah.
So for that,
you know what, as well,
him.
The other thing as well is I think they need to start slowing down on how many inductees they put in the Hall of Fame every year, because eventually they're going to start running out of wrestlers. Because I remember like a couple of years ago, like 5-10 years ago, they were whacking in like 10 people in a Hall of Fame ceremony. And they're getting to this point now where they're running out of people that they are going to induct. So obviously, there's still a couple of big names. Batista still hasn't gone in and stuff like that. But like, we're running like it's just getting to the point where the Repo Man's going to go in the Hall of Fame at this point. Not that I'd be against that, because I love the Repo Man, but you need to find something else. Like, we have the Warrior Award. I don't even know if they still do that anymore, but they need to find something else to add to that Hall of Fame ceremony.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like they've run less inductees in the last couple of years since Triple H came in, which I think is a good thing. Like you say, it sort of
doesn't make the ceremony as long either.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's going to be still quite a long one. It's certainly going to be a late night in Vegas for sure. The Hall of Fame starts 2 hours after SmackDown goes off, so that means it gives people a chance to attend both events. So
that's after SmackDown or before SmackDown?
After. It starts 2 hours after SmackDown.
Oh, okay, I thought it would have been before, because SmackDown's going to be on until like 10 o'clock. What, is it going to start at midnight or something? That seems insane.
I could be wrong, but I'm sure I've heard that. I was listening to Chris Van Vliet and Fluffy earlier on.
Look, man, they're doing the most to put as much stuff on at WrestleMania this weekend. Like, Stand and Deliver is on at like 10 in the morning or something stupid like that. It's insane.
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, literally, there's something to do all around the clock if you're in Vegas, and of course, people don't tend to sleep when they're in Vegas either. So, a lot of the events will go on quite late as well. I've just got to say though, it's slightly off topic, but I don't think we're going to get much more conversation on it. But the roast of WrestleMania, what's his name? Hinchcliffe.
Hinchcliffe. Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe, something like that.
Yeah. That appearance on Raw didn't do much for me. I can't say I'd be too excited to go and see that at this particular moment. If that was the to quote another comedian quickly of how I would rate that. Shout out to Jimmy Carr, by the way. Words can't describe how funny you are, but numbers can. 3 out of 10.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but then the only thing I can think is that obviously it's a broadcast show. It's meant to be a TV 14 product. He probably can't be as derogatory as he wants to be. I'm obviously really skeptical about this. Like, I want to watch it anyway because I'm interested in what they're going to bring up. But yeah, he just basically ripped on Michael Cole for being old most of the time. Like, the only one I did laugh at was his first match he called was David versus Goliath. I thought that was funny, but otherwise the rest of it, I was like, even the Big E reference I thought was a bit, really? The guy's like broke his neck almost, and you shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
Yeah, it didn't work for me, sadly. But hey, I'll probably still give it a go. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it so much after that. Which pity do you think that we'll get Cody Rhodes versus The Rock?
I mean, I don't want to say WrestleMania next year. I'm probably SummerSlam maybe this year.
I think it's going to be a WrestleMania if ever. So it's whether it's 42 or 43. Can The Rock go to WrestleMania 43? That's the big question. But this leads on to another question, because I actually will say that I think Roman Reigns versus The Rock happens first.
Yeah.
When do you think we get Roman Reigns versus The Rock? WrestleMania 42 or WrestleMania 43? I'm going for New Orleans.
Spoiler alert, I think next year as well. I think like early WrestleMania card prediction, Rock versus Reigns next year. Like, they've done it well to almost not do it this year, but I think it has to be done next year now.
It certainly feels that way at this point, especially with the Order of Valor that was done on the debut Netflix. The story beat is there. So, but yeah, have to wait and see if it will happen or not. If Paige comes back to WWE, is it so funny that she started on the main roster New Orleans and she retired New Orleans and the first match could be at WrestleMania New Orleans next year? Well, she's a free agent now, so she could really come in anytime if WWE were to do so. Just to align it, because Jonesy spoke about Paige as well, would she be a good addition or miles behind? It's actually she's got poor in-ring work during the time in AEW. Didn't have one good match. I don't know about. I wouldn't go that far, but what do you reckon? Would Paige be a good addition at this point for WWE for a return?
She'd almost be like a Natalia. Like, she would have a place, but I think if they brought her back, she's in there to put over people more than she is to do anything. I don't think we'd ever get another world title run out of her. Maybe a tag team run if she was ever. This is even if she wrestles again, because obviously WWE never originally cleared her. So I think pretty much if she was going to come back, it'd be along the same lines as Kelly and be like, do you know what I mean, a spokesperson for WWE. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to hear her entrance music again because it's one of my favorite ones ever. And so I'd pop if she came back. Like, one of my favorite Raw moments ever is her debut and winning the Divas title for AJ Lee. I still think as well the only person to ever hold both the NXT Women's Championship and a main roster Women's World title, the Divas Championship or like WWE Championship at the same time. So she has a moment in history. So she'll come back, just whether in ring or not, that's a completely separate thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for this stage of her perhaps career and life, she's not going to come back and be WrestleMania main eventer or top of the women's division. I agree, she would have her placement and she would be used strategically. But I see on interviews, she has said like if there's something that could work, that could work for her, work for the person she's working with, that she'd be open to the opportunity to do it. So I think she would be open minded to the idea of coming back to WWE. It's just
I'd actually put her in NXT. Put her in NXT as almost like the gatekeeper to the women's division.
That wouldn't be a bad shout. That wouldn't be a bad shout at all. I would like, if she wants to return, I'd like to see her return at a Rumble, but I mean, it's quite a long time away. Yeah. So, I mean, she would probably return before that. But yeah, to get that pop in a Rumble match, I think would be quite cool. But yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see what would materialize. Sid in the house that we're doing with Sid says WID title will be open to all independent wrestlers. The titles will be defended at various independent wrestling events. If a non-ID prospect wins the title, they get an ID contract. That's a good concept of getting new talent, discovering new talent, and of course, getting them under the WWE banner.
Yeah, they just have to be very careful with those independent wrestlers because some of them, like, I can imagine one of them wins that title and they never see the thing again, and it turns up 15 years later in someone's backyard in a garden, like a boot sale or garage sale. Do you know what I mean? It just, what the hell is this? So it's a WWID title. But hey, look, it's a great way of WWE branching out. And look, I'm not the biggest fan of Evolve, but it's almost like ID is a development system for Evolve, which is a development system for NXT, which is a development system for main roster, and there's a chain order. And yeah, man, it's just a good way to get new talent in. Really, I mean, don't get me wrong. TNA have just signed Maggie Lee. I think that's great, man. Maggie Lee's been doing some great stuff on the independents, and the fact that she's got a contract, I think, is great.
Yeah, good to see it for her. I wish her all the best in TNA. And yeah, I mean, like you say, there's just opportunity now you can see the pathway now to WWE through these different various ways now, and it can be done through the independents, and this is a good way of doing so. So interested to see how it would go. And speaking of Ray, thank you for your question here. Says that Izzy Moreno has a huge opportunity to enter the WID title tournament. Of course, some fans might remember as Bayley's superfan from NXT has been booked to compete at the tournament during WrestleMania weekend. How fun would that be?
That's a WrestleMania match waiting to happen, isn't it? Izzy versus Bayley. It's just one of them ones where like it literally, it's the story is there. We've seen her in NXT as a young kid. Bayley, man, it'd be great, man. I'd love it if they could ever do it.
It could be quite fun indeed, yeah. I'd love to see it go down. Now, I don't want to offend you, Alex Steve. PS is, how do you feel the fact that Chad Gable finally has a one-on-one match at WrestleMania against Rey Mysterio? I don't believe it is Chad Gable, though.
No, it's El Grande Americano. I don't know what he's talking about.
I mean, that's just
Chad
quickly.
Gable.
Chad Gable's unwell, isn't he? He's not even around. I mean, look at this guy. Is that Chad Gable to you? That's
No, Chad Gable doesn't wear tassels. That's outrageous.
That's the greatest luchador currently in pro wrestling. Look at him there celebrating after Monday Night Raw. I can't even see the resemblance of how that could be Chad Gable.
El Grande Americano is clearly about 6 inches taller than Chad Gable as well. Let's get that fact over. Like, they can't be the same person. They're not even the same height.
He's
Dude,
towering over Brutus there. I mean, look how
exactly. Look,
he makes Brutus look
he's
small,
almost,
doesn't he?
exactly. He's almost the same size as the other Creed brother. I forget his name off the top of my head. He's almost about 6'3". Yeah, it's outrageous how people keep doing this, man. Look. All I know is, like, I've been doing some heavy research into El Grande Americano, right? And I've been hearing these rumors on the dirt sheet. Some say he invented salsa dip. That's how big this guy is. Some say when he does a moonsault, he doesn't rotate. The world rotates around him. He's just that fantastic.
That's amazing. Genuinely amazing. El Grande America. I just to quote, I really hope that Chad Gable gets the singles match at WrestleMania, but if he doesn't this year, I think he'd be very happy to see that El Grande Americano did get one.
Yeah, man. Obviously, he's a big endorser of it. Like, I know he was a bit upset that he got the match this week on Raw instead of Chad, being in his home city. But look, man, we saw look, man, he had a great intro. He had a Titantron. Like, all I'm waiting for is the superstar profile on the website, and then like that'll be it. He's set for life, man.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he'll be set for life as well. Carrying on with Pierre, another question here says the fact that Jade Cargill versus Naomi is the first singles women's match without a title on the line gives me hope for other women's matches without a title at WrestleMania for the future. And yeah, I think it's a good point. I don't think it's the first ever, but I think the last time had some sort of stipulation added to it. So yeah, but it's the first time in a very long time that it has been without a title. So yeah, I think it's a great thing. And I'm actually got to say props to Naomi for the character development we've seen with her over the recent weeks. She's becoming an MVP on Friday nights.
Yeah, man. Look, if anything, it's probably something Naomi's needed for ages as a heel turn. And I'm really interested to see how Naomi portrays it, because I don't think we've ever really seen a heel version of Naomi, or if so, it was a poorly booked one before. But the fact that I'm more interested in seeing this than I'm interested in seeing Charlotte versus Tiffany at the moment pretty much sums it up. And there's nothing on the line with this. This is just simply blood for blood, fist for fist, pound for pound. They just want to beat 7 bells out of each other.
Certainly will indeed. And yeah, I've got a sneaky suspicion this one might not be as predictable as some are making out online. We'll leave it there for now. But you mentioned Charlotte Flair. Josie asked, I feel like we answered this question a lot though. Was Charlotte Flair and Jey Uso in hindsight the wrong choices for the Rumble winners? I feel that a lot of people have questioned whether it was right this year, whether it was the wrong move. Where do you stand currently on Charlotte Flair and Jey Uso as Royal Rumble winners?
Thanks to Monday Night Raw, 12 days before WrestleMania, I'm actually interested in Jey Uso winning that title. Now, that promo alone, dude, this was some of the best work Jay's done on a mic, because he simply turned around to Gunther and said, I was scared of you before. You've removed the fear from me. Now I'm just going to hurt you and take that world title for you. And I was genuinely, Jay, the passion he put behind it, I'm so glad they finally did this, because now I want to see Jay win that title. I had nothing. I had no reason why I wanted to see Jay win that title. That promo alone has done that. It's taken 3 months to get there, but we got there before WrestleMania, which was the key point. And now, if he does win at WrestleMania, we've said before, he's got stories and rivals to face after WrestleMania. So Jay is pretty much set for the next 3 to 6 months in terms of storyline. Charlotte, look, it's a tale as old as time. She's not everyone's cup of tea. She is arguably one of the best women's wrestlers on the roster. Her booking, unfortunately, is just pretty much one directional. It's like she doesn't ever change from being heel. And that's the problem, is that we get nothing new with Charlotte. It's just the same Charlotte. It's almost like, I know it's not, but I almost get Hulk Hogan booking vibes. Like, it doesn't work for me, brother. Do you know what I mean? I get that with Charlotte all the time. And I don't want to say it, but look, the fact that neither of the Rumble winners are main eventing pretty much sums up that they were not the greatest choices, but they had to get I suppose they had to get them on the show somehow, so it made sense for them.
So a statistic that I'm going to throw out now:
Go
58%
for it.
of Royal Rumble winners have main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah, I can believe that. Especially with the Vince era, because I know Vince was forever putting Brock versus Roman on at main event, and neither of them won the Rumble. So I know it's a thing. But my biggest peeve with it is that Alicia Dixon announces the winner will go on to main event WrestleMania. All you've got to do is say that they will get a world championship shot at WrestleMania, or world championship match at WrestleMania. That way, it saves the embarrassment of turning around and going, well, you said they're going to get main event at WrestleMania. And that's the biggest thing, is people just point and laugh at WWE and go, you can't even get the simple booking right with who wins your Rumble, because you said they're going to main event WrestleMania, and they don't. And the thing is the last couple of years, the women haven't main evented. So it's not like we're not used to it happening. It's just the fact that they tell us they're gonna, and it makes them look stupid.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's just the fact of when it goes around, are the superstars the wrong choices, or is WWE's logic of booking the wrong decision of how they portray their storylines and how they portray their stipulations? And that's what's wrong here. Like you said, it's the fact that they've been promised a main event that they're not going to get, and like you said, it's been happening for years. I mean, we're talking a long time. I mean, you go back to, for example, 2011 is one that just jumps off the top of my head. By the way, Alberto Del Rio won the Royal Rumble that year. It was the opening match of WrestleMania against Edge. Like, it's so common. Sheamus the following year, WrestleMania 28, won the Royal Rumble, was the opening match of WrestleMania. It happens so much. So really, like, I don't have a problem with the idea of who won the Rumble. If anything, Jey Uso was a great win for the Royal Rumble because it was unpredictable. It was something different.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time to get here to when actually we're at the point now and saying we're invested in the match. Because I agree with you, the last 2 weeks have really turned it around. I'm now actually really looking forward to Jericho versus Gunther, where before I was a bit like, it's a bit boring, this build. The match seems a bit predictable. But now I actually feel like even if the match is predictable, the match now feels more exciting and more hype around it, which is good.
Yeah.
Charlotte and Tiffany, on the other hand, I mean, this is a good time to get this image up on the screen.
Let me just add one more thing. Let me just add
Please.
one more thing quickly. I know what I actually know what my problem is now with it. It lessens the value of winning the Royal Rumble. That's what it does for me. The Royal Rumble, it's 95% of people's favorite pay-per-view of the year, because you look forward to the 30 superstars, the surprise entrance and everything. And you know the winner is going to go on and get a title match at WrestleMania. And look, when they first started it, you never got a title match at WrestleMania. So that's how much the Royal Rumble's evolved. But it just lessens the value of how important the Royal Rumble is in the calendar if you turn around and say, you're going to main event, but then you don't. That's my biggest problem with it.
I agree with that 100% because it is my favorite show and I don't want it to lose its prestige. But should there be an argument that the Elimination Chamber's gained importance this year because the winner of that actually has gone on to main event WrestleMania, which will be John Cena? Obviously, Bianca will not be, but at the same time, is it a point that perhaps maybe with such big gap as well, now we've got a later WrestleMania than usual, we'd have already had it by now in previous years. Is it a situation now where you perhaps turn around and say that actually maybe the Chamber should be valued a bit more in the WrestleMania calendar, and it should be the big one, or should it remain the Rumble?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, for me, most of the time with Chamber being before Mania, it's always kind of seen like a bit of just almost a filler, and it was kind of like, the problem I have with it is that whoever wins the Rumble is going to pick one champion. Oh, I know what we'll do. We'll stick six superstars in the Chamber for the other match, and it's predictable. Like, unless they've got some way of making it interesting and making it a draw. Don't get me wrong, you're right. This year's was very important to the main event story of WrestleMania, but it's always kind of been like, oh well, we have no. It's almost like we have no story for whoever the other champion is at WrestleMania. We'll just let six people fight out, and then in the Elimination Chamber, whoever wins that goes on to Mania. So that's kind of been my cliche with the Elimination Chamber over the last few years.
Totally understand that. Makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
So promo brings back into Charlotte Flair and Tiffany. Stratton. Jonesy asked the question, has Charlotte Flair's promo gone backwards since the latest return? She urgently needs a mouthpiece, in Jonesy's opinion. Well, I think it's safe to say that when it comes to Tiffany and Charlotte, it's got a bit personal between these two, because a couple of times now they've had face-to-face interactions, once in ring, once was a backstage thing where they weren't in the same room, but they were having a backwards and forwards promo. And I mean, we're looking at it. Charlotte apparently went off script both times, allegedly, which doesn't help the situation. It adds more fire to things, I guess. But the first time Tiffany felt a little bit blindsided, and let's be honest, I think was eaten alive during that backstage promo. This time in ring here with the ones that you see right now was completely different. There was some biting back from Tiffany as well. Let's be honest, it got quite personal. As I mentioned there, we mentioned about Charlotte Flair's divorce, of course, from Andrade, actually being 0-3 when it comes to marriages. And of course, then Charlotte retaliating, why is Ludwig Kaiser then in my DMs? Which, of course, Ludwig has actually come back on social media and put a meme on there with "Don't flatter yourself." So I think he's saying he's definitely in Camp Tiffy still. But yeah, your thoughts with Charlotte Flair since the return? Obviously, promos and stuff. Is it a case that that she was a bit rattled last week on SmackDown because the crowd would not let get a word out?
This is what I don't understand. She's used to being a heel, so I don't understand why she's struggling to deal with a crowd that boos her. It's been her career basically most of the time. So I don't know. Is it really that hard to be rattled? Surprisingly, since you came back and won the Rumble, you've been booed every week because no one wants you in this position. Like, I know, like I said, I think she is going to go down as one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. She's not my cup of tea, but I respect what she's done in the ring. But she just has this annoying habit, apparently, of going off script and just doing things off her own back, which is not okay. Like, don't get me wrong, my match of the year 2 years ago, Rhea versus Charlotte match went longer than it was supposed to. Who do you think made that call? I'm pretty sure Charlotte had a say in that. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, it panned out for the good, but not all these decisions work. And like I said, these promos the last couple of weeks, how Charlotte Flair is rattled by a crowd booing her, I'll never know. But the other thing was I don't know who the babyface was supposed to be after that promo because they were both heels. They were both laying into each other, and it just like no one came out better. And the problem is whoever wins at WrestleMania, the loser's going to come off even worse.
There is that fear. It's quite interesting how it's gone with Charlotte and Tiffany. And
Charlotte has go away heat. That's the problem. She has go away heat.
She does have go away heat. I think the problem is that she, like you said, she's been booked in the same position for far too long now, and it's every championship opportunity. People just want to see something different. Yeah. The problem is that she's a couple of titles away from matching Ric Flair's, and that's what I think WWE wants to do. So until that happens, and I think we all kind of know that, it's kind of like we're sick of it, give us something different. But obviously the marriages thing's been brought up. It's not really for me to comment or speculate because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but it's obviously been a difficult period for Charlotte Flair, obviously, if things have not worked out with Andrade. Has she come back at the right time? Is it too soon? Only she will know when it comes to that. She's come back, and obviously she's not appreciated by the fans. I think originally when she first came in, it felt like she was being booked as a babyface the first couple of weeks, and then it kind of went and dwindled away with the Tiffany feud. So I don't know what's right or wrong with that at this particular time, but I think what we all would like to see is a decent match at WrestleMania, which I think we will get because we've seen some really poor WrestleMania builds before. Yeah, but we've seen some poor builds before up until WrestleMania. And all of a sudden, the match comes along. Bianca and Sasha is going to be the classic go-to for me on this one. And they absolutely knocked it out of the park. They were fantastic when it came to it was like a 4.5-star match. So, I mean, like, for that reason alone, I still feel like it will be hopefully all right on the night. Hope it won't be a shoot like you suggested there. We've seen that rumored in the past with Charlotte and Nia Jax back in the past a couple of years ago. So let's hope nothing like that happens. But it's clearly got personal. But I think that professionalism needs to kick in. I'm sure that they'll both do that when it comes to the night of WrestleMania, and let's see where it progresses to.
Yeah, hopefully they can be professional enough to get through WrestleMania, but I just genuinely fear for the loser on this, and the problem I have is that Tiffany's probably going to lose, and dude, if there's ever two people that need to be separated by a draft more than anyone, it's these two at the minute.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I still think that Tiffany should win this just purely because of the fact that she is built as a star from that by beating Charlotte Flair. Charlotte can take the loss. I know people would say it would harm her, but she can take the loss at this point. I don't think it hurts her. Pierre says, what if the third man we've seen in The Rock is Randy Orton, and Orton costs Cody the title? Now, I must admit, I see someone else mention this on TikTok. I can't mention this reference, but it was on a comment on one of my videos recently. And Pierre, I have to say, I absolutely love it. I think it would be creative to have The Rock, Cena, and Randy Orton on the same page. It really does give NWO vibes. I think it'd be amazing because Orton, we know it's coming. It's been the longest built sort of teasers in the background. Randy always has an eye Cody in that title. It's gonna happen. It's when, not if. And of course, if he was to do it and actually help Cena win the title after all the battles they've had over the years as well, be a big shocking twist. I would not be against it at all. I think it'd be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it would be exciting, but the only problem is like if Cena takes that title, we don't get Randy Cody for the title, which is the biggest problem I have with it. So it only works if Cody retains and then Randy's the third guy.
Yeah, I would prefer it that way round, if I'm honest. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Randy was to cost Cody at some point as well, though, because Cody kind of has asked for it. Let's be fair. Jordan Grace should be NXT Women's Champion. She should be at some point, although I know that Pierre's not a biggest fan of Stephanie McMahon.
We need to talk about this booking. What has gone on with NXT this week? Because they've brought Julia back 2 weeks after they've done a unification match or a title for title match. And now Julia's back and wants her title back. And it's like, hang on a minute, why did you rush the 1v1 for both titles to have her come back 2 weeks later? And now we've got a fatal 4-way at Stand and Deliver. What's the point? Why did they rush the one-on-one?
I have no idea. No idea at all. But it gets them all on the card.
I understand that, but why? What you said, Julia? Everyone knew Julia was injured, and that's the reason why they did the match. But yet she's back 2 weeks later, and she's back in time for Stand and Deliver. I'm sorry, did she visit like a voodoo priest and like was magically healed that quickly? I don't know. It just seems a bit. I don't know. NXT this week was just a bit not for me this week, and it's a shame because it's consistently been one of the best shows. But the booking this week is horrific.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've seen half of NXT, so I can't comment on the second half of the show so well. But the fatal 4-way idea for me, like I said, gets everyone on the card. It's a safe way of booking whoever wants to win. Well, sorry for Jada Parker because she's probably the one that's eating the pinfall. But yeah, I think it should be a decent match. But I agree with you, booking wise, it's all over the shop. It doesn't really add up personally for me.
Yeah.
Kicking with Leo in the house says that Liv Morgan is going to be in a disappointing match for the tag titles, all because WWE can't do her right by giving her flowers after the year she had last year. It feels like a consolation prize. I understand where Leo's coming from, especially as we're all, I think, fans of Liv Morgan at this point would like to see her have the big singles match at WrestleMania. But I try and look at the bright side with this and say that there are a lot of superstars that won't make the WrestleMania card. There are many wrestlers in WWE history that have never been on a WrestleMania. Liv Morgan's had the fortune of being on quite a few WrestleManias now. And as well, she'll be involved in a tag team title match. It is a title match after all. One of her closest friends, Raquel Rodriguez, who was, on the shelf. Obviously, she had a skin condition, of course, and the fact she's now been able to make a comeback, I think, is fantastic. They're really good friends as well. They are record-breaking tag team champions. It's probably going to be against the throwaway tag team, though. I would agree with that point. There's not so much story logic going into it. Would have been better if it was Liv versus Rhea, but they blew it off at Netflix debut. But the fact is, you work all year round, you get yourself to WrestleMania to get a match. I think is still pretty cool and a good day's work. And I think she probably won't be too disappointed herself. Your thoughts on it, Steve?
Yeah, I've said it for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, however long, that Liv should have been in the title scene. Could have easily been in there instead of EO. And yeah, look, it sucks, man, but she's on the WrestleMania card. That's the important thing, I suppose. She is going to get a match. They should be doing this right and be booking a brand new tag team to take those titles off of them, because at the minute they're the most pointless championship titles on the roster because they don't do nothing with them. They never defend them. They bang on about the NXT division, like, and having these women like Sol Ruka and Zarya tagging together, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson or whatever her name is. Like, they have these tag teams there, but yet we get no tag team champions appearing at any point unless they're there to beat up someone backstage. And it's like, it's. Do you remember when the Intercontinental title wasn't on a pay-per-view for 18 months and we all sat there and complained about it? This is kind of like how the women's tag team titles feel for me. Like, I've got no reason to care about them, and that's the problem. But she's on the WrestleMania card, so I can't complain about it. I was just having a look at the minute. There's 11 confirmed matches for WrestleMania this year. I can't really see that many more being added either, by the way.
According to WrestleVotes, it's going to be 14 or 15 matches. With potentially 8 on night 1 and 7 on night 2.
Oh, man, but who though, man? Because it's so. Oh well, no, because I don't know. Something to look forward to in the future video or something.
It certainly is. Well, all I will say is currently, although we know the women's tag team titles will be defended at WrestleMania, I'm guessing that's match 11. The other two.
It's on here.
Yeah, it's on there. So let's go through quickly the WrestleMania card for those that are not aware at this point.
So confirmed for match night 1 main event: Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Confirmed the main event for night 2: Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. And then the other 9 matches they've got is Stratton versus Flair for the women's championship, Gunther versus Jey Uso for the world heavyweight championship, Io versus Bianca versus Rhea for the women's world championship, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul, LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the United States title, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Gauntlet winners, Jade versus Naomi, Braun versus Penta versus Finn versus Dom for the IC title, and Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. There isn't much more they can really book on there, is there?
Well, obviously, we mentioned the women's tag team titles will be confirmed on Friday. I'm guessing it's Lara and Bayley that will be filling the spot, if I had to guess right now. Neither of the other tag team titles are currently defended, so I'm guessing we get some variation of Street Profits. I'm guessing DIY and Motor City Machine Guns all find a way onto that card in some way, somehow, at this point to WrestleMania. The New Day won that tag team match on Raw against the War Raiders, so I think we're going to get a rematch at the pay-per-view. And the fact that they did a beat down angle with chairs and stuff afterwards makes me think that could be a weapons match of some description if there's going to be a stipulation match somewhere. There is a couple of other matches you could do. I don't know if we are going to get
Chelsea Green as well.
Yeah, Chelsea Green could be some way filled in there. Yeah, there could be a couple. I need a couple of moments to think of where there would be other matches, but certainly I think that's at least 2 or 3 more that we could add on there at this point. And I feel like there are a couple of other news that we're waiting for the confirmation for WrestleMania.
Yeah, the problem with Chelsea Green is that there's no obvious opponent. So I think if anything, she'll be defending on Raw or SmackDown over the weekend rather than being on the Mania card. And that's a disappointment because I'd love to see a Chelsea Green WrestleMania entrance. I think that'd be amazing. But I forget the tag titles. The tag titles they're okay, but like the world, not the world, is it the world? What one's it's the World Heavyweight Championship that's on SmackDown. They're kind of hot potatoed at the minute, and I don't know if that's enough to get them on the WrestleMania card, whereas the Street Profits of they're on this hot run. I don't know. It just feels like one of them's being booked strong and one of them's kind of being hot potatoed, and it's kind of like I don't know if you can book a hot potato championship on WrestleMania. That's the only thing. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe it's something to look forward to because you expect it to change hands. Like you never know. Maybe Pretty Deadly pick them up, but I don't know, man. It's just crazy how we've gone from I don't know. It still seems like a lot of matches.
Does seem like a lot of matches. Is Drew and Damian Priest confirmed at this moment?
Oh no, that's not on there either. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah.
That'll be done this Friday on SmackDown. Then they've got a face-to-face coming up. So, yeah, should look to be a strong WrestleMania card. And, not a lot of sleep for us. That's what I would say.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a stacked card. Very stacked card.
Hello. No, it's a stacked card. Hello. I think one of us went there for a minute. Probably me.
Okay. I said it's a stacked card. Like they've done well to get as much talent on the card as possible. Like, dude, I know when we fantasy booked it, all we did was struggle to get people on the card and ended up booking 8 teams in a ladder match for tag team titles at one point.
It's literally what we did. And we're going to do a video based on that, how wrong we were. But Jonesy suggested that potentially, as this exposed Paul Levesque as a weak booker with a build to WrestleMania card this year, my answer to that is going to be that I think that there's been a few storylines that I think were culminated earlier than what they were intended to be. And I think that the reasoning for that was the Netflix debut. I think there's been so many big landmark milestone events coming up with WWE that I think at one point Triple H decided that everything that was building what looked to be WrestleMania direction was all blown on that sort of WrestleMania style show on the Netflix debut. You know, the first original Punk versus Rollins match was given away on a Netflix on a Raw in the Raw main event, which would seem unheard of when it was dreamed to be a WrestleMania main event, the year previous. Rhea versus Liv, Roman versus Solo, those felt like those matches were destined for WrestleMania. Perhaps when you look at the card now, maybe some would say they're happy with it. Maybe some would say they're worse with it. The other thing I would say is with a number of storylines since Triple H has this slow building of storylines, and I would say that some of them haven't quite hit their peak, or some of them are perhaps past their sell-by date. But I would not call Paul Levesque a weak booker. I think that the shows have been, all in all, over the last couple of years, if you compare Triple H's booking to the last 4 or 5 years of Vincent Mann's booking, I think it's night and day that Paul Levesque is.
I was just about to say, if you look at Vince's last WrestleMania, which is 38, match card, Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. That's not WrestleMania worthy. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. No. The Miz and Logan Paul beat Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. Okay, fair enough. Belair versus Becky Lynch. Sure. Cody versus Seth. Sure. Charlotte beats Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey sucked and was just more of a name than anything. And then Stone Cold versus KO night one main event. And then you got RK Bro against a couple of tag teams. Bobby Lashley against Omos. Johnny Knoxville against Sami Zayn. While great, it's a comedy match. Sasha Banks and Naomi won the tag team titles. Edge versus AJ. Sheamus and Ridge Holland defeated the New Day. Pat McAfee defeats Austin Theory. Then Mr. McMahon beats Pat McAfee. I mean, I think this card this year is better than 38 in those words. That there isn't a bad match on the card. There is just some lacking in story, probably more than anything else.
And the amount of times we've seen lacking in story go into a WrestleMania, and it turns out to be a blinder. Yes. 31, I think, is one that will stand out. Has always been that WrestleMania had a really terrible build, but was absolutely fantastic when you were watching it. So time will tell on that one. Question that we actually answered on a recent video, by the way, for worst WrestleManias of all time. Go and check it out in our part of our 10 count series if you haven't seen it already. Might WWE do WrestleMania in 2 different cities on the same weekend? What are the pros and cons? NXT, you discussed this on that video, so give it to us again.
It's a possibility, but the biggest con is you have to get the match card right, and you have to you don't even have to tell people really, but I think some people will feel like WrestleMania 2, and it'll be like, I want to see this match at WrestleMania, and if it's not on the night that you're going to, then you're going to feel slightly annoyed. So if they were to ever do it, they essentially have to have the match card like pre-booked by the time tickets go on sale. Tickets go on sale in like October, November, and we're never going to get a WrestleMania card with the match orders sorted, but like 6 months before the pay-per-view. So you've kind of like, you're expecting people, like, don't get me wrong, it's 2025 and people will buy WWE tickets for silly money. So just the fact that going to WrestleMania is a possibility, people would probably still buy the tickets. But I think, like I said, the match card, if you want to go see Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, but it's on night 1, but night 2's in your city, you're going to feel a little bit bumped. So there's a balance there to it, man. But there is a possibility they could do it. I think they're more than anything. It's more probably the time frame and the time scale. Because, like, for instance, if they did one in like Los Angeles and one in New York, the start times are completely different. And like, you'd have finished one show and the other one's just about to start.
True story. True story. I think I might have thought of an idea to get around it, though.
Oh dear, go on.
I don't think people will be happy, though, with the idea.
We need to, if this is a good idea, we need to cut this out so they don't do it.
The brand split. So WrestleMania Raw is in LA, for example, and WrestleMania SmackDown is in New York, for example, because then that way everybody knows who they're going to see because they know the rosters to see,
Yeah.
well, Roman Reigns is on Raw or he's on SmackDown currently. But you know what I mean? You can play with it how you want to. And it's like whoever superstars are where, I know that's the pool of superstars I'm going to see rather than thinking, I'm going to blindly buy a ticket and hope to see CM Punk. And he's on the other night and he's in the other town. Oh, silly me.
Yeah.
But if you are buying a ticket to WrestleMania and expecting just to see one superstar, then it's probably a bit silly because they're spending a lot of money on a big gamble anyway. Nothing's ever a guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing they would have as well is that you've got to put in. You then got to decide where to stand and deliver go that weekend. Where does the Hall of Fame ceremony go? Raw and SmackDown aren't a problem because what if you've got Raw in LA, the Monday Night Raw goes on in LA, the SmackDown goes on in New York, for example. But then they've got to logistically fill the weekend with more stuff to do. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them for them to try it again. Either way, it will sell out. People will buy tickets, and it will probably be a record-breaking weekend in terms of money made because of like the just the geography of it all and how much money they make.
Absolutely, and me and you'll be sitting home watching it, so probably won't make any difference to us.
Exactly,
we'll be quite happy.
If it comes to London, I want both nights in London. I don't want one in like Manchester and one in London. No. I want both at Wembley.
We're greedy when it comes to that. If you're coming overseas, come to the doorstep, please. Preferably for me, come to Denmark. I'd quite like that. Or Stockholm. That'd be quite nice for me. But hey, I think I'll probably be the only person there. Jonesy says, would Moxley choose AEW or WWE now if given the choice?
I don't know. I think he'd be interested to stick his feet in the water and see how he'd go in WWE now, especially with Triple H at the helm. I think there's a lot more appeal to a Triple H booked show than there is to a Vince McMahon. And like I said, he's been in AEW for 6 years now, 5-6 years. And it's kind of like, you'd imagine at some point he's going to go back.
I think he'll go back one day. I do think he'll go back one day. The only thing that makes me feel like Moxley does feel like quite a laid-back guy when it comes to stuff. He worked without a contract previously. His contract with AEW had expired, the first one, and he carried on, I think, for 2-3 months before he re-signed with the company. I think he was even their world champion. He could have walked into WWE and done a Medusa and thrown the thing in the bin. He didn't do that. He remained loyal to Tony Khan. So from what I've heard from Moxley from previous interviews, he said along the lines of like, well, you know, we're making this alternative. We're making, you know, this is something that we want to see what it's going to be like in 20 years from now. Of course, like we're on year 1, year 5. We're going to make things that are going to be really good and stand out. We're going to make mistakes as well, but it's all a learning curve and it's making another place for people to work and making a difference in the industry. He's one of those people I think wants to make the betterment of pro wrestling. So it makes me feel like that it's to the, and also a lot of it's to the beat of his own drum. He can do kind of what he wants when it comes to AEW. He can throw these spikes. And he can't do that in WWE. He can't have like this, you know, spiky Janus thing hanging out of his back. He can't do thumbtacks every second. So I do think that right now he would remain with AEW because I mean, Jonesy said to me that Mox's contract could be coming up soon. I can't remember the source he gave me, so I feel reluctant to say it at this moment. But at the same time, if that is the case, he would have a decision to make. But I do feel that it would be quite exciting to see Moxley in WWE at this present stage, and it does feel like that. I don't know, a Shield triple threat. We need that at some point on a WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of star power, he is the equivalent of what I would say Austin was to the Attitude Era for AEW. Like he is that big name, that established guy, that foundation of AEW. Do you know what I mean? Being world champion 2 or 3 times, however many times he's been, like record number of days he's been champion. He is like the foundation of AEW from the top of the match card. Do you know what I mean? So he's got no reason to leave. And like I said, if he can do back body drops onto spiked 2x4s, all he wants in AEW. But yeah, like I said, I imagine one day he'll go back to WWE. I think he'd be crazy not to. And I think that obviously there's going to be a Hall of Fame induction in there at some point in his career.
Certainly, indeed. Pierre asks, what is the greatest match in Steve Austin's career for you?
I'm not going to give any spoilers away because I'm going to plug one of our videos, is Steve. So coming up soon, we do our best ever WrestleMania matches, even though that is kind of a bit of a giveaway for what it is. But yeah, we've got part of the 10 count series, our 10 best WrestleMania matches, and how hard it was to whittle 30 odd matches down to 10 and then put them in an order from 10 to 1. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge.
It is a challenge, but it's a video that I think is definitely worth going and watching. But
There's
hey,
a couple
look,
of matches in there.
There were a couple of Austin matches we've selected in that top 10, so it's not just the one. But I'll give you a different answer because take WrestleMania out of it just for now, Pierre, if you don't mind. Because then that way I'm answering your question, giving an actual answer. And I think it's a very underrated match. Over the Edge 1998, Stone Cold versus Dude Love. Where literally it's pretty much Mankind, isn't it, Mick Foley? But where you have Vince McMahon as a special guest referee, there's no way for Austin to walk away as champion. And just all the carnage of like different people coming to try and screw Austin every 5 seconds, whether it's Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson, whether Shane McMahon's in the match, and Austin just finds that way to still get the job done and walk away with the title. I think is a match that's definitely worth going checking out if you have the opportunity on Netflix or Peacock.
I'm going to say one of his Rumble wins. What's the one where he's sitting on the turnbuckle reading his watch? Is it the first one when he
97.
cheats to win?
Yeah, 97.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Rumbles, just for the fact that nobody wants him to do it, and like I said, and then he cheats and wins, and it's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bloody good Rumble. Well, 2001 Rumble was also a spectacular Rumble. If we both had the power to put one current WWE superstar in Hall of Fame, who would it be? This is a creative question. I like this.
Unfortunately, it would probably never happen, but Owen Hart. Look,
he's not a current WWE wrestler.
Oh, a current W. Sorry, I thought you meant that. I was just fantasy booking that. A current WWE wrestler. R-Truth. I think R-Truth has a history as like he's like the most decorated champion in WWE history. I think like that guy is destined to go into the Hall of Fame at some point, but I think he should go in just for the pure fact that he's been around the block and back again, and he's still doing it. And he's like, I'm sure he's like in his 50s now, something like that.
He is. Yeah, Jeff's a really good shout of R-Truth, just because of the fact it's not the obvious big names that you could go for. That what I would have probably done is gone for a big name. So I mean, R-Truth, I think, is someone that goes under the radar and like people, is certainly deserving. I think a lot of people would cheer for it. So I like that. Sorry,
he's a big fan favorite.
Yeah, and I think he would be very deserving for it. So I'll do the same thing. Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
Decorated tag team champion, former WWE champion, Kofi Mania. He's been in all sorts of different storylines. He's been with the company since 2007, 2008 on WBTV, ECW start. So, give Kofi his flowers, even if we boo him every week at the minute.
Kofi as an individual. He'll go in as part of New Day no matter what. But I think he's one of the few that deserves to be a 2-time Hall of Fame entrant. Yeah, and that would be it. He would go in as on his own as well for the stuff that he's achieved in his career.
Certainly indeed. Now, I'm going to be honest. There's a reason I'm not taking many AEW questions, if hardly any, because I haven't seen Dynasty, so I have not a clue with a lot of things that's happened.
A chance.
No, just not time is not allowed. So this is a reason why I've not taken any questions at all. But and it's different. You're not too upset.
I know the results.
You know the results. So you say you're not too upset when you see a spoiler. Yeah. I saw this question and I just thought this one I'm going to bring up because I have an answer for it without even seeing it. What did you think of FTR turning heel and turning on Cope and taking him out at AEW Dynasty? Now, I can't say about the beatdown. I can't say about the attack. I know nothing of what happened. What I can say is that it looked inevitable that there was going to be problems with Dax Harwood and Cope at this show. That was something I predicted going into the show on the predictions in some fashion. So I'm not surprised to see that, and see Cash stay with Dax I think is a good thing because of the fact with FTR, I think they're better together rather than being separate. But looking at this, I think we will probably be building, and this might seem a bit out there, but I think
I love it.
I think we're building to.
I already love it because I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I think we're going to get FTR versus Cope and Christian Cage. I really think we're going to get that. I think that Christian Cage has had problems in his group. Nick Wayne has been threatening to kick him out for quite a while now, and I think that the penitentiary are going to kick Christian out, so he's going to be he's not going to be a father anymore. So I think he's going to probably get his head out of his ass, and I think he'll go back to being with Cope. And they've been rivals since AEW started, but I think they're going to want to have one more run as a tag team. And I think that that's certainly a big match that you could do for Double or Nothing, or perhaps even for maybe Forbidden Door, maybe because it'd be the good place because it feel forbidden. They're back as a tag team. I don't know, but yeah. So that's going to be my answer for that.
Cope and Cage. I want it to totally reek of awesome. I want it to totally reek of awesomeness. I really want them to do all the goofball stuff that they used to do. Honestly, it would be so refreshing to see. Not that I haven't loved Christian Cage as a heel, because I think he's great. Cope has kind of just been serious guy ever since he came back. I want him to mellow out now. I want to see goofball. I want to see 5-second poses for those with the benefit of flash photography. I want to see costumes. I want to see goofball hats. I want to see old school Edge and Christian in Cope and Cage. And look, against FTR, I mean, look, if I remember correctly, I don't think FTR have the best match, like the best chemistry in this match at some point. I think that it's pretty bad for them, but hopefully they can go on to put a killer match on and do a great tag team match between them.
I'd love to see it. I think I really hope something like that goes down. It would be pretty awesome if it was to be the case. Just to remind everyone, if you enjoyed the video so far, please do consider hitting that like button. It really does help us a long way. We have far too many questions to keep up. We're going to do our best to do so, but I think we have to start powering through some of them to make sure that we get through all of them. So let's go through. Jonesy threw in a low before we started, so we're going to get a few Jonesy ones in, and we're going to get back to the lineup that we've got currently. So here we got missed opportunities with John Cena's heel turn so far.
Can't say I've seen. I don't know. Maybe the lack of just interaction and physical interaction, and maybe is the one thing, but it's never really been about that with John. So I don't know. I can't really think of anything.
Lack of mention of The Rock would be a missed opportunity, or just the Rock involvement, and probably missed opportunities is probably not enough shows in Europe. I think there's something I'm going to make a speculative comment of why I think we actually got the road to WrestleMania in Europe. Is because I think John Cena filming in Europe is the reason we got it. I don't think that happens if John Cena could be in the States all the time. With John Cena's filming schedule, I think they put 2 and 2 together and they made 4, and they made a lot of money with some really hot crowds on the road to WrestleMania. And yeah, I could be wrong by saying that. They may do it next year. But I'm going to suggest that I think John Cena is a big reason of why they did that. So, yeah.
Good way to make some money as well and charge astronomical prices for tickets for European crowds.
Absolutely. What if John Cena got injured in the chamber? What would the on-the-spot audible of WWE have called? I suppose it's one of those questions that if my auntie was my uncle kind of things, I suppose he'd have all starters. Yeah, I mean, what would be the situation? Oh, yeah, that would work well.
Probably the best one.
It is the best one. I think a lot of people would like to hear the name CM Punk just because of the fact I think Cody and Punk would have been a very interesting story. There's tease stuff as well earlier in the year, but I think The Rock's the right answer, isn't it? Had that happened, I think that's what people would have liked to have seen Cody versus The Rock at WrestleMania. Isn't AEW identity that's a wrestling quality is paramount while it's incidental in WWL?
Yeah, obviously they're two different things but like AEW is pro wrestling, like, and it's all about match quality, and WWE is more about story quality, and it's like very occasionally we'll get they're literally parallel opposites. Like one is great storytelling with the occasional great match thrown in, the other one is consistently great majority great wrestling with the occasional good story thrown in. Like, dude, I texted you the other day, and the backstage segment between Swerve and Hangman, and the 2 words that Swerve turns around and says to Hangman, says, "I know." That is just fantastic storytelling, because of the direction that Swerve and Hangman now have going forward is just great. And it's very rare I find a story in AEW that I really sort of hang on to, but that is just great.
I am going to be controversial and say that I actually think that whilst they may have their differences, there are a lot of the same. I know that they have different representations of what they have, for example, target audience. And I think that that's what makes them more separate. For example, AEW can be more curse words, for example. They can do more violence on a regular basis, for example, compared to WWE, more of a family orientated product. But they both have stories. They're both sports entertainment. I can't hear this of like their pro wrestling. AEW, in probably their high point at one point, was having a dinosaur in a mask each and every week. That's sports entertainment. That's not a 5-star pro wrestler. That's sports entertainment for you. I don't care what anybody says.
Dan has
You know
cursing people.
exactly. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, they have their gear.
It's indie wrestling, is what it is. It's indie wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Orange Cassidy, again, the idea of sports entertainment. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
True.
it's what it is. So there is everything of the same, even though they have different target audiences, and that's what's the main difference, in my personal opinion, of why you see differences between the two companies. WWE is though more focused on the story of the two, though. At the
that's
moment.
what I meant.
But AEW had great stories in the first couple of years that were going around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Especially when like Kenny went to TNA with the World Championship stuff. Like they had some really good stuff there.
Absolutely. Is it time to win the brand split in WWE and have just one world champion?
No, because there's too many people on the roster.
Agreed. Let's go down for one more for Jonesy, then we'll go back to the pack. Is the Royal Rumble's influence on WWE diminishing with the long span between it and WrestleMania? We technically answered that.
I said just the value of it is diminishing when you don't have the winner main event at WrestleMania.
Do you feel, because people have suggested that maybe this could be the start of WrestleMania moving further in another direction, say it goes to May, does it get to a point that the Royal Rumble has to move later in the calendar year, that it can't stay in January anymore if that happens?
Not really. I don't think the Rumble. I mean, well, yeah, maybe I suppose, because you've then got to go sort of 5 months before that person gets their match. But then I suppose, to be fair, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. It gives you the opportunity to book someone to win the Rumble, who then has enough time to get out of a storyline they're currently in to then move on to the world title that they're going to go for at WrestleMania. So instead of being like, it almost makes the Royal Rumble a bit more unpredictable, because we think that such and such is going to win it and such is going to win it, and their story for the next 3-4 months is going to be them going to WrestleMania. If you had someone, say, for example, El Grande Americano, currently tied up with Rey Mysterio, if he had won the Rumble, you then give him like a month or two to finish up the Rey Mysterio story, and then he's all in for WrestleMania. I don't know. It just, like I said, playing devil's advocate here, but who knows, man? Maybe they might move it, but I don't want them devaluing what the Royal Rumble means and what it stands for with a lot of people.
It's a staple in wrestling history that a lot of people hold dear to their hearts. So I don't think that we want to see it lose its influence that it's had over the years. One other AEW question I will take is, who do you think will win the men and women's Owen Hart tournament in AEW? I will answer this because I'm pretty sure. NXT, are you Googling it the second?
Yeah, because I have no idea who's actually in the tournament.
No, the thing is, I don't know how the first rounds have played out. So, but all I will say is that I believe that we're going to get Hangman versus Ospreay in the final of the men's, and I'm going to go with Ospreay to win. And I will say in the women's, Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter in the final. And I've got a funny feeling that Mercedes is probably going to win
it. Dude, I'm just going to piggyback off of you because, here we go. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against Takeshita. Possibly, I don't know if he lost to Brody King or not. If he's still in, I wouldn't mind him maybe getting to the final of that either, going up against someone like Hangman. But yeah, I mean, for the women's, yeah, Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter is probably the best shout. I mean, I don't know, unless Chris Statlander wants to, because I'm pretty sure she's got to still face Thunder Rosa. So I won't be against Thunder Rosa getting a shout.
Yeah, Thunder Rosa, she's gone on the radar for far too long at this particular point, I would say. PSN, the channel has got Go Away Heat. People won't let her talk in the mic. And this is after WrestleMania as well. We have to have Lyra Akira versus Becky Lynch for the women's IC title. And also Roxanne Perez as well, be another match that Pierre would like to see. Both sound very good matches indeed. Josie asks, what have you made of Solo Sikoa's downfall in the last 12 months? Downfall is a very interesting word, because I would actually say it's the last couple of months rather than the last 12.
If anything, I'd just say it's because Jacob Fatu is unfortunately a lot more, I don't know, a lot more liked, I suppose, than anything. Even though he's never really had a promo, I think, like, I prefer Jacob Fatu as a wrestler and his in-ring style. I don't know, I just, Solo Sikoa is just, to me, he's just an Umaga duplicate at the minute, and I think that's the problem I have with it, is that like, I didn't like Umaga the first time round, and he's kind of just a like for like copy. So maybe all you got to do is just a bit of all you got to do is a little narrative change or a little character change, and he'll soon be right back up there. But I think Jacob Fatu has just been a breath of fresh air, and like, he was my breakout star of the year last year, and it's hard to surpass someone when they're like doing better than you.
I agree. I think it's one of those classic cases of that when Solo Sikoa was is most over, WWE didn't pull the trigger, and when they
Yeah.
did pull the trigger, it was too late. And Jacob Fatu came along, took over the spotlight. But Sikoa, I mean, has main evented a lot of shows. So this is where I disagree with the 12 months. I mean, obviously he won the main event of Money in the Bank, pinning Cody Rhodes, who was the champion at the time. He main evented SummerSlam. Of course, he lost that match, but he's also main evented Bad Blood last year as well, War Games, Survivor Series. So even if some of those are losing efforts, he still was on those shows and was in the main event and was seen as the credible heel threat at the time. Since, though, obviously losing to Roman on the Netflix debut, that's where he has faded away. But he has got the storyline simmering now with Jacob Fatu, which does lead into this next question. Does Jacob Fatu win the US title at WrestleMania and then booked into a corner like the Fiend, having a title but never loses or can't be pinned? They'll probably do what they might do with Bron Breakker and do a multi-man match, and that's how they get out of it, because Dominic Mysterio is pinning Finn Balor, folks. Note that down. He'll be the new IC champion. But yeah, I mean, going back onto this here, is it a case, though, that actually Jacob Fatu wins that US title? Because Jacob Fatu has actually had some strong words and has not said that he loved Solo for a long time. It's Solo loving Jacob. And many are suggesting that Jacob Fatu is going to turn on Solo after WrestleMania. Could it not be a case that Solo cost Jacob Fatu?
I mean, more than likely, because I think, I don't know, the direction I thought they would go is Jacob Fatu versus Solo for that US title, because it, like you said, that's the way it's kind of all panning out. And to be honest with you, I'd rather get LA Knight out of that US title scene and start booking him in more interesting storylines. What that'll be, I don't know, but because like if they're ever going to pull the trigger on that guy, it kind of needs to be now, because it's getting to the point where his heat is his heat is starting to die down. But yeah, I mean, he could cost him, but I don't know. Like, I'd rather Jacob win and then Solo challenges him for that title, and then we get the fallout of that more than anything.
Certainly, indeed. Jones asked, what's been worse for AEW, the Devil storyline or the Death Riders? How would you make AEW must watch every week? I mean, to be fair, to make it must watch every week, I need to watch it myself every week to know what to do. It's kind of hard to keep up with everything at the moment in AEW. Unfortunately, something has to be sacrificed, and All Elite Wrestling is the one at the moment. I would say that you just need to go back to the storylines you had near the start. I mean, like we mentioned, Hangman, the evolution of his character has always been something that's been fascinating in AEW. The fact of how we overcome Kenny Omega to win the big one was a great storyline around that time, which was like an 18-month to 2-year storyline that they did. Now that they've got this with Swerve as well, what they do next with that, I don't know, but perhaps you build to that for All In. AEW is currently at a point right now where I think we probably have an idea what a lot of the big matches are going to be for All In. It's just a case of how we're going to get there. And I do think when it gets to All In, that's where I think a big reset button will be hit on probably a lot of the storylines, a lot of the titles. The big question is that going to be a detriment to AEW in the meantime? Because I do know there's the results of Moxley versus Swerve. I don't know how, I don't know why, but I just know that Mox is still champion at the moment. I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen Swerve win it, but
Definitely,
it's unfortunately not the case. And I think that I would prefer to see him and Hangman finish their story off one last time, All In. I think that would just be the thing I'd like to see. And I think that I've said it before, but I'll say it again on this stream, so it's definitely hit on the YouTube side of things. I think Ospreay is the guy that's going to beat Moxley for that title, and I think it's All In.
It's probably the best shout. It's just a shame that it's going to be in Texas and not at Wembley, which would have made a lot more sense. I mean, can they really delay it another year until they do all in at Wembley again? I'll put it this way. I'm going to say this. The payoff for the Death Rider story will be better than the Devil's storyline, because ultimately someone's going to win that title, and that's going to be a much better payoff than that Devil storyline ever was.
Absolutely. Of interest, the Devil storyline was better, but for the payoff, the Death Riders will be better. So yeah.
Yep.
Roy says during a recent edition of the Kevin Nash Click podcast, he blasted the current booking of Rhea, Bianca, and Io Sky for the women's title match at WrestleMania. Kevin Nash said he don't want to see Sky and Bianca. I want to see Bianca and Rhea. Well, I mean,
I said to you that Io feels like a bit of a third wheel in this match, and like it's kind of not really about them. So it'd be interesting to see. Like, don't get me wrong, the match will probably pay off better in terms of story wise going forward, because I think we're getting heel Bianca at this point now. It's getting to that point where that's where they're going with it. I don't know if it's just a case of that they've put a third person in this because of the sake of not having Rhea lose. I don't know. I like don't having Bianca lose because Bianca's on a WrestleMania undefeated streak. I don't know. I think that's just purely how they've done it. But I have said previously that Io feels like a bit of a third wheel.
It does feel like she's been a third wheel, but I think this is a story that they're looking to build for the future big storyline of Bianca versus Rhea. I think you're going to get it. I think they're just making you want to see it first before they give it to you. If it's just on the plate, I said this around Elimination Chamber time. I said that it's not the right time for Bianca versus Rhea, and I stand by that, because Bianca at that time was not as, let's say, she didn't have the heat behind her of the storylines. She'd been in the tag team for like 9 months, and it felt like that she hadn't been booked like the top single star we've been used to seeing for years. So now that she's back in that singles division now and she's doing stuff there, she can win the title at WrestleMania in this triple threat, because I think she keeps her undefeated streak. Rhea hasn't got to be involved in the decision, or something is done that screws Rhea over, that screws Sky as well. And they can start building to Bianca versus Rhea for WrestleMania 42 in New Orleans. And I think that's a perfect way to do it. Keep them apart in the draft for a little bit longer, and then off you go. It's a clever way of doing it, because then you're going to want to see them achieve more. The fact that Kevin Nash already wants to see it is a bloody good start.
Yeah, I mean, look, this ultimately goes back to our Elimination Chamber thing here next year, because I don't want to see Rhea or Bianca win the Rumble next year. I'd want to see someone new win it, but ultimately, you then have to do the Chamber and have one of these two win the Chamber to then go and face the other person at WrestleMania. So, look, everyone wants to see that. Look, man, it's a rivalry that's been going on for the last like 6, 7, 8 years now, however long it's been. There is going to be an ultimate payoff for it. It's just when they do it, it's probably going to be next year. But yeah, Io's in there for the pure fact to take this pin, I think.
Sadly, but true.
Yeah.
Joseph says, for all the hotness of the product, he'd argue that WWE has not made any stars through their booking in the last couple of years. So if anyone wants to tell me Jey Uso, it is yeet, feel free. I mean, Jey has won by winning the Royal Rumble, but last couple of years, Cody Rhodes finished the story before he come back to WWE from Stardust.
I would have said Tiffany before the whole Charlotte Flair thing. She's been booked incredibly. She's been made into a massive star. Chelsea Green has been made into a massive star now. Like, she was a fan favorite before, but now they've put that US title on her. She's getting a lot more traction. Jacob Fatu has come in, and I reckon he's on the precipice of being a big star. Bron Breakker, another dude that's like on the verge of being main event titles. And like, he's had a great run since he's come up. So they have done well with some people. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some people, like, for example, Carmelo Hayes, are a bit like non-existent that they could probably do better with. LA Knight, to be fair as well, look, he came in as Max Dupree on the main roster, and he's now one of the, like I said a little while ago, he's starting to die off a bit now, but he's been one of the hottest people that everyone wants to see. Like, you took him up to Saudi Arabia, he was a crowd favorite.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of people forget, like, because I'm going to mention Rhea Ripley's name, and they're like, but she was a star before. She won under Vince McMahon booking. Rhea Ripley was completely lost and in throwaway tag teams, and was thrown in the Judgment Day. And everyone says as well, I think it was on the last Q&A, Yeah, it was much. But I mean, Jones had this question on a recent Q&A about how Judgment Day fell apart under Triple H. Actually, there were not anything until Triple H got hold of them at Clash of the Castle 2022. Before that was Vince's creation. They were being buried every week. So, I mean,
Yeah.
Rhea actually became the star under Triple H's booking, not under. And I would say she's been dominant over the last couple of years. It's to the point that she is the star of the division. I think people forget that actually she is one of those stars that's been made in the last couple of years.
She is one of the top two biggest women in the roster. I'd say her and Bianca are top two.
Absolutely. And before that, when it was under Vince's regime, it was Becky, it was Bayley, it was Charlotte.
Yeah.
We've moved on. We have moved on. It does happen.
Yeah.
Pierre says here, well, I think Io absolutely deserves to be in the match. I agree. She deserves to be in the match. She's a star, and everyone wanted Io to be in a championship match before she won the title. I think Nash is just getting a bit ahead of himself. That's why
it's creative. That's I said they've got Bianca and Rhea just pushing her away every week, and then obviously she does a drop kick this week to Rhea, and that looked pretty rough on Rhea going into Bianca, but it's minimal. It's like the story is Rhea Bianca, and like I said, she just feels well. So it's the creative that's lacking on this one.
Absolutely. Jonesy said I did have a counter with this, by the way. For this is how far behind the comments. We're 50 minutes behind comments, so we're gonna power through, make sure we get through from this point onwards. But they clearly acquired a star in Cody. Now, whilst I would agree with that, they still had to book him like that once he came in, and without the Hell in a Cell moment where he had torn the pectoral on the match with Seth Rollins. That was the moment that Cody became a star in WWE. To that point, he was just someone that came back. Before that, he was trying to brush off Stardust when he first came back for the first couple of months.
Yeah. Because the fact that it was used in every single promo, but there's always that moment where fans get a new appreciation for a wrestler. Cody's torn pec in the Hell in a Cell. Jaden McDonough is going to get a massive pop when he comes back after, do you know what I mean, breaking 2 ribs in that match and then carrying on for another 10 minutes. He's going to be a massive fan favorite when he comes back. There's always these moments that fans get a new appreciation for people like that. Don't get me wrong, Cody had a draw, but there's still like the casual fans that don't know nothing about him. And then when he goes in and wrestles a Hell in a Cell match with a torn pectoral, people are like, "Oh my god, this guy has got heart, he's got soul, he's got, you know what I mean? He's got everything. I want to support that guy."
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is as well, AEW apparently had half-empty arenas when Cody left. So I mean, like, yeah, it's the fan base is a lot bigger in WWE. So good to see that the fan base is a bit stronger in the attendance, though, for these shows these days. PSS is a big fan of Stephanie Becker. I know you are. I was only playing around, but he said just didn't like that she was a double champion. Absolutely understand that. Indeed, Stupid booking, absolutely. Why do we feel like every year Liv is put in a position where it makes sense for her to challenge for a world title, but ultimately give the fans what they want? Give the fans what they want to see in that spot. Give that
Leah,
spot.
Leah, I'm going to be really blunt for you. At the moment, Liv Morgan is Dolph Ziggler. Great at putting everyone else over. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
It's a true story. Pains to say, but it's true. Have to ask, will we get Fatal Influence on the main roster after WrestleMania? It's going to be a bit of a tease of a split this past week on NXT.
Yeah, they've been teasing that split for ages, to be fair, especially when Fallon Henley won that in North American Championship. There was a bit of almost animosity between her and JC Jane anyway. So that split is there, and that's a story that they can use to play out for the next couple of months. But no, I don't see them coming up after WrestleMania.
Not at this particular time. Maybe one of them or two of them. I reckon Fallon Henley's coming up.
I don't know. JC Jane's been there for a long time.
Yeah, she has.
I think if JC Jane doesn't come up this year, I think I don't know if she ever will.
Yeah. She still hasn't really been booked so strongly, even though she's part of that group. What's next for WrestleMania for Drew McIntyre after the biggest show of the year? Oh, yes. Yes, I like that.
Someone that Jay's got a list of people that he can face. Drew McIntyre is one of them for being part of the bloodline.
I like it. I like it. I think he'll be a world champion before the end of the year. I think, though, he will have a feud with Cody. I'm going to say as up to SummerSlam.
Completely not Drew McIntyre as well. But I saw this earlier and I thought this was great. I think it was Mex. I saw a TikTok of him earlier and he'd seen someone put El Grande Americano versus El Fakador. What's his name?
El Generico.
El Generico, yeah. After WrestleMania, I was like, yes, I want that.
Give me what I want. Who do you want to see beat Chelsea Green for the Women's United States Championship? Answer is no one, says Pierre.
They're not doing anything to build anyone to take that title at the minute. Zelina Vega, I'd like to see at some point win a title, so maybe Zelina Vega.
Zelina Vega. We're going to need to power through these questions now, I think.
Yeah.
Have we played W2K25 yet? No.
No.
Do we think we'll get a Max Caster versus Anthony Bowens feud? Hopefully at some point.
It kind of feels like they've already done it with that one match, apparently.
Yeah, one and done. There we go. Unfortunately for that. Prediction from Byron, WrestleMania 41, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul. Oh, goodness, it's just a host of names there. I guess that all the people that are going to be winning, but Chad Gable to win.
Chad Gable on there.
Oh, he's not in a match yet. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
WrestleMania 45 going to be in Chicago. I have to wait and see. See. Will we see the best in the world, Shane McMahon, return to the ring in the future? Hopefully not.
No. If anything, he'll be doing like what Stephanie's doing at the minute and doing Stephanie's places, and it'll be like Shane's places or something. I don't know. That's probably about the only thing we'll say.
Yeah. What's the most underrated match of all time?
Oh God, that's a subject in itself.
That's hard to give a quick answer to that one.
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know if there's underrated matches. I don't know. Like, that's hard, man. That's a subject for its own discussion. We could probably spend about an hour talking about that.
I think I will go back and say Austin. Dude, Love is one I do think no one ever talks about that match. It's a freaking good match. So I'm going to say that one. And just as an alternative answer to this, I will say No Mercy 1999. Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian, because everyone just talks about TLC these days. They don't talk about the original ladder tag team ladder match.
On that note, I'm going to say Hardy's versus Dudley's Royal Rumble 2000, because I think that's criminally underrated as well. Like, not enough people talk about how good that match was, even though we've just done a review on it.
Certainly, indeed. Roy says, I think that Tony Khan is a better booker than Triple H. Certainly fair within that opinion.
Yeah. Fair.
Since there's Tony Storm cuts an X-rated promo at Post Dynasty Media Scrum. I have to go and check that at some point then, but I need to see the show first. King Williams says, I think TNA should have a mid-card women's title, maybe a women's X Division championship.
Digital Media Championship can be held by women, so I don't think they really need another one at the minute. Don't know if they have this big enough roster for it either. Plus, they had the women's tag team titles.
They do. I'm not against it. Maybe just give the Digital Media Championship to the women's division at this point. If we get a draft this year, I need Liv to go to SmackDown because get her hands back on a world title, slim to none. I feel like that's because of how much Raw is stacked in the last few months. I think Liv would be one that would move to SmackDown. I could see her, Raquel, and Dom all going to SmackDown together. And I'd quite like to see Tiffany versus Liv at some point in 2025.
Yeah, definitely.
Would be quite fun. Leo also goes on to say at this point, I wouldn't mind her pulling a Becky or Charlotte move, go to NXT, have a run down there, win the NXT Women's Championship, because that's one title she hasn't won yet. That could be quite interesting indeed to see.
It's a good shout. She hasn't won the US. I don't know yet.
No, there's all those as well. There's plenty to play for. Jason McCall in the house, good to see you. He says, how do you guys feel about the usage of Roxanne lately? Seems like there's a lack of direction for her on the main roster or NXT. Feels like she's putting a lot of people over in NXT on the way out of the door. I think she's main roster bound after WrestleMania. I feel though that feud is called off massively.
Yeah, like I thought that was the stand and deliver match, but I mean, after NXT last night, she can't even get into an NXT, the North American Women's Ladder match, and like apparently they're going to book something for stand and deliver, and they've got who did they have there? Fatal Influence, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson, and Roxanne Perez, and all in a backstage segment, and they all want something to do, stand and deliver. So what we're going to do, 6-woman tag team match, that's just going to be throwaway. Yeah, I don't know, it just seems to have plummeted. It's like, where's she's supposed to be called up this year? Where's the hot storyline? And then, do you know what I mean? She comes up to main roster and has this great impact, and she's already been in the Rumble. She's already been in. Wasn't she in hell? She was in Elimination Chamber, and she's just nothing since.
Yeah, nothing since. Maybe she's pulled. Well, she has actually had some NXT matches, so she's definitely not injured. But it's crazy. It is crazy, and it's wild to Kyle. And I've got to say, I kind of agree with it. It's definitely Women's Wrestler of the Year last year for me. So definitely think she should be in the mix. Kyle says, I've no idea where in Chicago they could do a Mania. Honestly, not enough big enough arenas, especially none indoors. So, yeah, I mean, it does become a factor these days. Hot crowds on the build to the shows, perhaps B pay-per-views. But, yeah, if there's not enough a stadium vibe, maybe they can do at this point for a WrestleMania. Yeah. Could be difficult. It's the Windy City after all. Kyle says, I think the Women's Championship match on the Raw side is made of a story for Io to prove she's a credible champion. I think she wins at Mania. How about you guys? Do you know what? I'd love to see it. If Bianca didn't have a streak that would be broken through that, if she was to not win the championship, I would turn around and say that I actually think with the way the story is playing out, this is certainly something that could be viable. But because Bianca has a streak on the line, I just don't see her losing at the triple threat match.
The only thing is, this streak thing, I think that's something she's willed into existence. I don't think that's a booking thing, because I think that's her just going off her own back. And like last year, she was like, oh, I'm 3-0 or 4-0 or whatever at WrestleMania. I think that's coming off of her own back. I don't think that's a WWE narrative. So it could happen, but I just think he was purely in this to take the pinfall at the minute.
Certainly, indeed. Let's go back to some of Jones's earlier questions. We've got quite a few of them to get through. Let's see if we can get through them for him. How do you see Rusev returning to WWE?
I don't at this point.
You don't. Rumors have suggested he signed a contract. So I think he's going to come back at the draft.
Draft or Raw after Mania, because honestly, there's nothing for him. We're 2 weeks away from Mania. It's a case of waiting now. Aleister Black, I think, is supposed to be back as well. The week after Mania as well.
Yeah, it could be interesting to have Rusev on the Raw after Mania and Aleister Black on the SmackDown after Mania, because then that keeps things interesting. One big return on both shows.
Draft is probably the best thing, though.
Yeah, how do you see him returning? I mean, if he was to go to Raw,
Rusev versus John Cena.
Oh, again, I want to see Rusev versus Bron Breakker. That'd be the one I'd like to see.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely quite a fun, meaty contest. Joe says WWE Finals are trademark for the culling. New faction on the way. It's Sean Spears' group currently in NXT, which features the likes of Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, and Izzy Dane is in that group as well.
Josie clearly doesn't watch NXT.
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. No, probably not after this week anyway. Will Bianca Belair finally turn heel at WrestleMania? Hopefully. If my old predictions are coming in line, yes. If not, shortly afterwards, but we're going to go with hopefully. Didn't Coach Cody Rhodes want to face a diminished, old, whiny current John Cena rather than a former version of himself that Cody pinned for? I mean, Cody's the strong babyface of the company. Of course he's going to want to face someone at their best self. Of course it's an easy day at the office with a diminished old whiny John Cena, but that's not the Cody Rhodes that we know and love.
Well, John Cena is famous for the 5 moves of doom, so is it really any different to what he was doing 10 years ago? So I put that towards you. But yeah, he's the fighting champion. He wants them at their peak, at their, do you know what I mean, at their best, even though he did do a cut to them 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely. What if, we've got some retro questions here. I love a bit of retro questions. What if the Montreal Screwjob never happened? Would Bret Hart have returned later? Would Vince still become Mr. McMahon? Would the Attitude Era have even existed the same way?
No, I think WWE goes out of business if the Montreal Screwjob doesn't happen. I think WCW takes over. I think you need the Montreal Screwjob to happen for WWE to be as big as it got.
The turning point for me in the Attitude Era, or we call it the Attitude Era because that's what the era is called, but I think the turning point for me was Tyson coming in the start of 98, and I think that still would have happened. So I'm not saying that WWE would have necessarily gone out of business. Brett, I think, would have fumbled in WCW, and I think he would have come back providing the Goldberg match never happened. I think if Brett was unhappy, he could have walked away earlier, probably got himself fired. Would Vince have still become Mr. McMahon? I don't know. Probably not. But if, yeah, it's an interesting one. Real interesting one.
And he is arguably one of the greatest heels of all time. So you're kind of like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't have him, WWE may never get as big as it possibly does get to. And then if you do, we got Vince McMahon storyline and we got everything else that obviously happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another what if question. What if Stone Cold never got injured? Imagine no neck issues. He could have had even more dream feuds of the likes of maybe Cena, CM Punk, perhaps extended the Attitude Era longer, or certainly Ruthless Aggression Era, because he was in the Ruthless Aggression Era. He came in there and was probably part of it for what, about 3-4 months, probably at tops. Was a GM for the rest of the time when he was doing his stuff as well. Survivor Series 2003. Would have loved to seen the dream matches. I imagine he would have done more matches.
Yeah. The only problem is it's not necessarily down to the wrestlers; it's down to the creative. And like I said, we know how the heel turn with inside him Vince McMahon goes after 17. So, that's ultimately the big thing. It's never a case of if Austin had been around longer; it was always the booking.
Absolutely. And of course, he did walk away, didn't he? June 2002, because of creative issues. He was unhappy. He left the company for about, was it 6 to 8 months, I believe? So, yeah, I think that, I think it's not all just down to the injuries, but certainly those dream matches would have been awesome to see, particularly Cena and Punk. Perhaps could have even got the Hogan one as well, because Hogan was still knocking around, even if he was past his best. What if Hulk Hogan never left WWF for WCW in 1994? Would the Monday Night Wars even happen? Does the NWO still exist? WWE could have stayed dominant, so no Monday Night War drama. Interesting. I think first off, NWO still exists, but it's not as strong as it once was. I think Nash and Hall still go over because they both went over for money, not for and to do less dates. I don't think Hogan was any factor of them coming to WCW. So I think they come in. I think the Outsiders thing still happens. And Sting was originally meant to be the third man. I think it would have been Sting. Would it have been as successful? Probably not. Is probably the honest truth answer.
With Sting, because Sting was that guy. Sting was the Hogan equivalent in WCW. He was like top babyface. You're right. It probably wouldn't have been as big, but I still think it would have got over.
I don't think it would hit pop culture. I don't think it would have changed.
Fair enough.
Industry. In the storyline terms, I think it would have been fun. I think it would have been cool, but I don't think it would have put WCW on the stratosphere that it did to make them number one.
Yeah.
If Hogan had never left to go to WCW, I think WWE suffers, or WWF, because he would be politicking his way. I think new generation stars would have got angry, and I think would have left. I think you're looking at your Bretts, your Shawns. I think Nash and Razor were already out the door anyway, and they probably would have
been a 17-time world champion.
Yeah, probably would have been. So yeah, would there been a Monday Night War drama? I don't know.
Really?
I still think there would be something going on because WCW Hogan didn't just was a, like I said, definitive factor of NWO, but I mean they did have a lot of other names that I think could have put up some fight as well. They've said Randy Savage in there, Roddy Piper came in.
The Hogan heel turn does exactly for WCW what Cena does for WWE this year. That it gets people talking about the product that probably hadn't watched it for years. And that's what it does, really. And without that, wrestling probably doesn't get as big in general without it.
Absolutely. I have a very controversial answer for this. What if WCW actually won the Monday Night Wars?
Pro wrestling doesn't exist on TV anymore.
Possibly. I was going to go as far as wrestling would be nowhere near as big as what it currently is.
No, it'd be indie shows, and it wouldn't be Super Bowl equivalent WrestleManias.
They would have had all the hot players under their roof and they could have done what they wanted. But the thing was, WCW was a company that had one good storyline, or they had good storylines, but they had one major storyline that got them over to a point where it got them to a different level, and then they could play around that. It was all about the NWO. And once that fizzled out, WCW fizzled out. It didn't remain the same. There were some good things. The Cruiserweights was awesome. Nutty Ric Flair in 1999 had a few moments that was quite good. The Four Horsemen always was a fun thing going around, but they have. I don't think that they would have carried on because they prioritized the legends. All the people like Austin would have come in. It would have been the same thing, but the other way around. So WCW stars came into WWE. Like Goldberg was fed to Triple H first off before Goldberg won the title. It was a thing of like, we're going to show that our stars are bigger. Well, WWE stars were younger. So if, for example, everyone came the other side, like The Rock, Steve Austin, and they were fed to Hogan, yes, it's dream matches and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, it would be going back to seeing stunning Steve Austin for the US title. They would effectively book them all like Bret Hart. And I think that WCW then would have been lacking its stars when it got to the mid 2000s. Arguably, you could turn around and say, though, they may have got hold of the Brock Lesnar's, the Kurt Angles. That could have made a big difference.
But then does Florida Championship Wrestling be a feeder company for WCW? That just means we don't get a Batista, a John Cena, a Brock Lesnar. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows indeed? What if the streak never ended? Undertaker stayed undefeated. Does it elevate someone else down the line, like Roman, when he finally does lose?
Not really. I mean, the streak ended, and it's a WrestleMania moment. The problem was it was the wrong person doing it. It should never have been Brock. It should have just been someone. It should have been a new and upcoming star.
Thing is, it put Brock on a different stratosphere for that time period. So in a way,
he was already a UFC fighter. That's what I mean. You can't really get more legitimate than biggest badass in the planet that can legitimately kick anyone's ass.
He was losing a lot of feuds, though. He was losing to Triple H and John Cena, and this put him on a different level. But I agree with you. He was the thing that made it work, I suppose, was he was legitimately believable. He could beat the Undertaker. But would it have benefited Roman if Roman had been the guy to the limelight? Absolutely. Roman would have benefited so much more at that time of the two.
No, Roman was still too forced down our face, and the fact that they still, I think, doesn't Roman still beat Taker at WrestleMania in one of the matches as well?
Yeah, 33. Then the next night, Raw, 10 minutes of silence. Yeah, good. It's my yard now.
Yeah, that would have still happened regardless if Brock had never beat him. He still would have been, because the way Roman was being booked, you'd have still got that.
Absolutely. Last couple of questions then. What would you have made of? Hang on. What have you made of the lack of The Rock being mentioned since the Big Angle Elimination Chamber? It's something that's making us not connect the dots at this moment.
Yeah, it's a story plot for later on, unfortunately.
But we will probably get an answer at some point. Jonesy mentions about previous years having gimmick matches at WrestleMania, casket matches, Firefly Funhouse being a couple of examples. I think there's still time for gimmick matches to be added to WrestleMania. We might get them.
Priest versus McIntyre is probably going to be a stipulation match, and so is probably one of the tag team title matches.
Yeah, I actually think both of them will be. I think that we could be getting a TLC match for the SmackDown tag team titles with Street Profits, Motor City Machine Guns, DIY. And I'm going to say that I think that we'll get...
Pretty deadly.
Yeah, I would love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen at this point. Would love to see a No Holds Barred or some description like that for the guys for the Raw Tag Team titles, the Raw Raiders.
What?
And,
why is Jonesy trying to re-manifest the Nigerian drum fight again? The match that had no drums in it whatsoever. That was a terrible gimmick match. Why would you want that back again?
Well, there's a reason I didn't mention it. Just because that's not one I want to see make a return. Carl says, I think Bianca moves back to the Jade Noma story, and Bianca and Rhea are too focused on each other, and Io will sneak a win. I like the shout. It's a good shout indeed. I do think that Bianca goes back in with the Jade Noma storyline, but I have a funny feeling if my prediction works out right, I think Bianca wins the title first. And I think that actually then Bianca will then realize that Naomi was right with what she was saying, because the second she's away from Jade, she wins singles gold. I think that Bianca will cost Jade against Naomi.
That's a good shout. My only worry as well is who Io faces after Mania, what her next story is, if she does win.
SmackDown. Tiffany Stratton, Liv Morgan. Put Bailey back over there. There you go. Let's just SmackDown Women's Division sorted for a year. Wouldn't be surprised if Aldis called in Rusev or Black to take care of Randy at Mania. I wouldn't be against that idea as well. That's quite a creative way to do it.
Why we want Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton? That's the match we really want.
That's the match I want. I do want to see that as well. But I'd be open to all the matches. I think all of them would be quite interesting to see. Give me all of them. TNA podcast that the TNA is better than NXT. They don't watch NXT or any other WWE shows, but I agree TNA is better than NXT. Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't watch enough TNA to make the comparison at this moment, so it's not really fair for me to do so.
Yeah, I think there is that, and ultimately NXT is the developmental brand, so it's not probably going to have as more established stars as probably what TNA has.
Certainly, indeed. Byron says apparently he watched an interview with Stone Cold, never got injured. He would have won the 2007 Royal Rumble. Interesting. I haven't seen or heard anything about that. So that's food for thought there. Eric's joined us late to the party, but Eric, you're never too late, my friend. And they always watch this stuff on delay if you want as well. So appreciate you tuning in. It says, why are Bailey and Lyra a team now? They both got attacked by Liv and Raquel. So they've been thrown together in this tag team gauntlet on SmackDown this upcoming week. And it looks like that they'll probably be the most likely team to win. If I'm being honest, no Nia and Candice in that tag team gauntlet, which is a bit strange.
Well, Nia's been MIA since Elimination Chamber. I think we haven't seen her at all. I think
not at all. No, not at all. Byron says Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest street fights. That's the one. That's what would be good. Or Last Man Standing for me. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to happen. We just had one of those last week on SmackDown. Do you see Chelsea defending against Selena at WrestleMania?
SmackDown or Raw? Too short notice.
I think it'll be a SmackDown before Mania match, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But that's all the questions, and that's a lot of answers.
We got there.
We got there indeed. Thank you, everyone, for so many questions. But we've had a real fun time. If you've missed anything, then make sure to check out from the start of the video, particularly about Paul Heyman owing Seth Rollins a favor. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button, share with a friend, subscribe as well, and keep an eye out for more videos to be dropping this week. Mount Rushmore makes a return, WrestleMania themed. We've also got best WrestleMania matches, 10 count coming as well. We can announce the worst match ever will be Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler. Keep an eye out for that. You're putting us through that. How could you? And also WrestleMania predictions. We will be confirming day and time for you on the community tab in the next couple of days. So keep an eye out for that. And we may just have a special guest as well. Thanks all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. We'll see you for the next video. All the best. I should mention just before I go, follow me on TikTok as well. On TikTok
and me.
And then it's Steve as well. We're both on TikTok. Follow us. Peace.